Good afternoon. Savva here from Football Heritage TV, joined by Charlie from Blue Brother CFC for episode 2 of our show. Charlie, happy Wednesday to you. How are you, my man? You all right?
Yeah, mate, I'm doing good actually. Yeah, it's been a good week so far. It's been a positive start to the season. Exciting things going on. We're hated again, which means that Chelsea are back because everyone's hating us. Everyone's becoming an accountant overnight. We're ruining football. We're spending all the money. Oh, it's not fair. It's all this. It's all that. I'm loving it.
Yeah, it must be mad. You're the complete opposite to Spurs in a transfer window, where we're like, please, can we have some players leave and players join? You guys are like, yeah, go on, you 15 out the door, you 15 come in. Look, mate, let's start with you are. Chelsea are getting a lot of stick, getting a lot of hate. Lots of people want to throw around the FFP. How are they getting around it? I've seen all these different videos from these football finance experts explaining how they're getting away with it. From your point of view, are Chelsea doing anything wrong, or are they just finding loopholes in a flawed financial system?
I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm some sort of football finance expert. I don't really know how it works, but like in terms of what we're doing, I trust the people in charge, and these guys aren't stupid. They might have made some footballing mistakes when they first come in, but in terms of business and numbers and money, these guys are self-made billionaires. I think they probably know what they're doing, and they probably know their way around the financial situation. And it's the fact that no one, like these loopholes, by the way, have been here probably since FFP started. They've been here, and no other owners have exploited it or taken a risk on doing it. And maybe there's a reason why you don't see other clubs offering 8-year contracts, but we're doing it in terms of we are taking a risk in terms of having players on long-term deals, but we're balancing the money by offering the long-term contracts. And because we're not in UEFA competition this year, unfortunately, it means that we're not subject to the UEFA rules, which is you can only amortize the fee over 5 years. Because we're not in that competition, we can amortize it over the full length of the contract. So when people say, I'm spending 115 million pounds on Caicedo, firstly, 15 million pounds of that is add-ons. So they might not all be hit. We don't know what the add-ons are there, but that 100 million is going to be split over 8 years. So whatever 100 divided by 8 is, that's going to go on the books this summer. So it's not a great deal of money. Plus, people don't realize how much money we've raised through player sales since 2013, 2014. We've sold 1.2 billion pounds worth of players since 13, 14. So like in just under 10 years. I'm not an expert by any means, but what we are doing is within the rules. And I think people don't like it because, one, their club hasn't seen the light and hasn't done that. And two, people just love to hate Chelsea. So, ultimately, I don't think we'll really find out for maybe 3-4 years how this is going to work out. And of course, when you've got not all these signings are going to work out. When you've got players on sort of 7-8 year contracts, trying to get rid of them could be quite difficult potentially. But mate, I'm happy with what we're doing. The wage bill has come down massively. We're now offering incentivized contracts. So there's an article come out in the Times today from Tom Roddy saying that Romeo Lavia is actually going to be on less money than James Ward-Prowse at West Ham. So when people say
in terms of a weekly wage,
in terms of a baseline, obviously with incentives, it could obviously go out. But we're doing good business, and people just don't like it because we're doing good business. And they just look at it, oh my God, how can they spend this much money without even looking into A, it's being spread over multiple years, and B, we have sold so many players. This summer we've bought in almost 300 million quid through player sales, but people just seem to overlook all those different things. Look, I get it. Like, I'd be annoyed if I was a rival fan thinking, "Fuck, why couldn't my club done this? Why someone else found it?" But I haven't got a problem with it, and ultimately I trust the people in charge, and these guys know what they're doing with numbers. I think Chelsea probably pretty clued up lawyers-wise as well. So if we were doing something wrong, I think they would probably realise and they'd stop doing it, because you will get found out if you're doing shit wrong eventually.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I mean, I think the difficulty is for a lot of people when we see players, when we see clubs that have done so well for so many years, there is that bit of you that's like, oh, good, they're not good anymore. Right. And it was like
sure.
Man United's dominance under Ferguson. When Fergie went away, everyone was a bit like, okay, yeah, this is all right. when Pep leaves Man City, I think people will be overjoyed that Man City won't dominate. I think the Chelsea, I think what people hate is that you did have a massive drop off, but that you have got the financial power behind you to make sure that that drop off isn't a sustained drop off and it was just a blip. And I think that's what people don't like, right?
Yeah, no, for sure, mate. Of course, I think people would be quite happy for us to spend years in the wilderness. But do you know what's also mad as well? I'm particularly enjoying it because I remember back when we were sanctioned and rival fans and the media, oh, Chelsea are finished. Oh, we're going to go bust and all that. Oh, it's the end of Chelsea. And suddenly we're back. We're spending a lot of money. We're bringing in some very good players. We've got a really exciting squad. We've got a great project that is looking like it could be really good. And people don't like it. People love to hate Chelsea. I know clubs get equal hate, but it seems particularly for Chelsea, it seems to be this narrative. Like, for example, Liverpool, if Caicedo had gone to Liverpool, when that bid went in, it's like, oh, this is a great signing for Liverpool. Chelsea do it, oh, they're overspending. Like, it's a narrative against Chelsea as a club. It's always different. Like I don't mind that much because it's great to have people hating you and all that because that's when you know you're doing well. But this idea that Caicedo was a good signing for Liverpool, but Chelsea are overpaying and their spending's out of control because he's decided to join us, it doesn't really make sense. But yeah, mate, I'm pleased with it, and it also goes to show that myth that oh, you can't attract good players with no European football. It's like for every, not for every club, of course, but do you know what I mean? People saying, I'm going to struggle to attract players. And, we do offer, I'm not saying I'll be paying Caicedo more than Liverpool would have done. It's hard to tell. I don't actually know how much money Caicedo's on, but this idea that he's on, people saying he's going to be on like 200, 300 grand a week is nonsense. We don't offer contracts like that. He's not going to come in and be on more money than Reece James. He'll be in and around 100 grand or whatever, which is obviously still a lot of money, but in football terms, it's not much. So, like, it's annoying because people like sort of just spout nonsense, claiming they know what they're talking about when they haven't got a clue, and it's that's just kind of how it is right now. But mate, I am loving it because it's great, really.
Well, listen, it must be fun. It must be fun. By the way, big up to everyone in here. The numbers are growing by the second. Please please subscribe, the usual old stuff. We're now only 9 subscribers away from 9,800. So, in other words, 209 subscribers away from the 10K. Please subscribe to Charlie. That would be absolutely brilliant. His link is in the chat, Blue Brother CFC. And if you've got any questions, put them in the chat, put a Q in front of them. I'll try and get to as many of those in due course as possible. And let me know if you do want a super chat or channel membership. But big up and thanks, Charlie, for coming on. Charlie, your first game of the season, before we get to a Spurs related question, your first game of the season, for me, I thought you started quite slowly. And then I thought you grew into it and looked the better team. I thought it's definitely in the second half. I thought you looked the better team, looked like you could go on and win it. What was your assessment of your first real taste of potch ball, as the kids would call it?
Mate, I was there on Sunday. It was great. Atmosphere was great as well. But to be fair, it's always good against the big teams at the Bridge. And yeah, mate, I liked what I saw. I think he sprung a little bit of a surprise going with the back three. I don't think any of us really expected that. We hadn't seen it in pre-season at all. We'd very much seen the 4-2-3-1 and occasionally a 4-3-3. So a little bit of a surprise there with the back five that he went for. But again, it's not something unusual to Chelsea. We've seen that a lot over the years with Thomas Tuchel, Antonio Conte, and all that sort of thing. But I agree, mate. I think we started a little bit slowly. Disasi looked a little bit nervy. Obviously, Colwell at times one-on-one v Salah got done, particularly for the goal. But I think after we equalised from around 25 minutes onwards, I'll be honest, I thought we dominated that game. We didn't create an awful lot of chances, but I think we had about 65% possession, which is, I think I saw it something like the most possession a team's had against a Jurgen Klopp Liverpool side since he's arrived at Liverpool, or something along those lines.
Right. Yeah.
So we definitely, I think we dominated that second half. Liverpool looked dangerous at moments and had a couple of half chances towards the end. But ultimately, mate, I was really impressed with how we played. Yes, we didn't win. Yes, I would have liked us to have created a few more chances. But what's great, mate, is that one, we're fit. Two, like we're exciting to watch. And it's the first time, mate, I've gone to a Chelsea game in a long time where I've actually enjoyed it and I actually looked forward to it before the game started. And I enjoyed it when I was there. and there were signs of positivity going forward. I think there was some great link-up play. The young players look decent. And overall, mate, I think there's a lot to look forward to this season. I know it's just one game and a lot of things can change. We've added more players since then. Lavia's come in, Caicedo's coming in, Elise probably on his way from Crystal Palace as well. So there's a lot to look forward to, but I do still worry a little bit where the goals are going to come from, because I like Nicholas Jackson. I thought it was a handful up front, caused problems. Probably could have done a little bit better with a chance that he blazed over the bar, but I think there's room for positivity. But again, I do worry where we're going to make up 30 or 40 goals.
Well, look, let's jump straight into that then. And big up, by the way, Darius became a channel member earlier today. It's hung around for this stream as well. So big up to Darius. Thank you for your support. One of the questions that's come in, actually, two people have asked this question. So you've got Taylor Rose and, it's the same person twice. Taylor Rose has said, should Chelsea re-sign Tammy Abraham? What's your thoughts on Tammy Abraham and possibly him coming back? Is this just a dream, or is there rumours? What's the situation there?
There had been rumours for a while, not necessarily this summer, but certainly whilst we were looking for a striker before we signed Lukaku, that did happen, and then obviously we had been linked again. But he did his ACL towards the back end of last season. He's going to miss the majority of this season, so that's a non-starter for this coming season. And ultimately, there was a reason he left, because the greatest respect to him, he wasn't really good enough. Yes, I know he scored 15 goals in the league that season, but ultimately, he's not good enough to lead the line for Chelsea and fire us and get us the goals that we need to be challenging for Premier League titles and winning big trophies.
Is he that little notch below? Would you say
what's required? Yeah, I'd say he's that notch below, mate. He's a good player for sure, but he's not top quality, and that's what we need. So yeah, it would be a no.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? I mean, Tammy Abraham, I like so much about his game. I just feel that there's something lacking from his game, which, again, if we're talking about the brackets in terms of strikers, there's something that's stopping him being as prolific as Tony, as prolific as Callum Wilson. So for me, I think he goes in the bracket just below those guys, but can be probably very difficult to play against. Everybody, thank you very much. Thank you for the person that's just subscribed. It is much appreciated. Keep smashing that like button, people. It really does help YouTubers. And I will get to all of the questions, don't worry, in the next half an hour, 40 minutes between myself and Charlie. People in here saying that Lavia is the next Makaleli. Talk me through these two sagas, Charlie. I mean, at one point it was like, hang on, you're not getting Lavia or Caicedo, and then within 3 or 4 days they're both wrapped up, they're both Chelsea players, and all of a sudden Lavia, Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, and you're looking at a top class midfield three. So what's happened there?
I mean, firstly, it's an unbelievable midfield revamp. In the space of 6 months, we've gone from a fading Kante, Jorginho and Kovacic, and we've gone to Enzo Fernandez, Lavia and Moises Caicedo. Not to mention, we've still got Andre Santos, Cesare Casadei, Chukwuemeka as well. Uga Chukwu's come in from Rennes, who's going to be a promising young player. So the midfield upgrade, we've gone from Kante, Jorginho, Kovacic to Enzo, Caicedo and Lavia in the space of 6 months is pretty special. Now, I'm not saying that these guys are going to come straight in and make an instant impact. I think Caicedo will. Lavia might take him a little bit longer. But what I would say is, mate, is that in terms of the Caicedo saga, look, ultimately we've ended up with a player which is great, but I don't think we should be letting Chelsea get off blameless here in terms of the way that we handled that transfer saga, because we knew back in January that we wanted Caicedo. We put bids in January for him, and then we knew we wanted him, and yet we spent 3 months negotiating, putting in derisory bids of 60, 65, 70, and then 80 million pounds, knowing all along that Brighton weren't going to budge on their price tag, but we still thought we could do it on our terms. Only at the last minute to then bid entirely on Brighton's terms and get outbid by Liverpool. So what I would say is that only one defence of the directors on this one is that Caicedo was said that, a big part was that because he gave his word to Chelsea like at the back end of May because of the groundwork we'd done. That is the only positive in the way that we dealt with it, because otherwise there's no excuses why you shouldn't have had this deal wrapped up, and it shouldn't have taken you three months to do it. But ultimately, Caicedo wanted us. So at the end of the day, it was about Chelsea agreeing a deal with Brighton. It's cost us an extra 15 million quid than we originally wanted to spend, but I think it'll be worth every penny. And the fact that he wanted us over Liverpool is, it's great for us. And I think it also goes to show, that he actually did stick to his word. He agreed personal terms with us at the end of May, but it was just one of those sagas that we just didn't need it. Like it was so avoidable. Like we've been in talks with him for 3 months, so
but it's done now, right?
It's done now.
They're both in the door, and they'll compliment Enzo Fernandez. Just quickly, let me try and add a little bit of a Spurs spin in here, and big up as well to Sean Smith, who said, big up Savva. I'll tell you what, it's actually a breath of fresh air listening to fans being able to have a sensible conversation about football without talking trash. Listen, I think Sean, you've hit the nail on the head. I do think sometimes that you can't have a conversation about any other clubs without people wanting to have a dig. I was on a show earlier, and just because I was talking about what I think Chelsea need to do to go to the next stage after this, somebody said, oh, what would you know as a Spurs fan about winning? And it was like, oh, what a stupid thing to say. But thank you so much, Sean. I really do appreciate it. Nice to have nice comments. Big up to everyone. Thank you for being inside. Let's smash the like buttons. Let's get that to 100 as soon as possible. And as I said, Charlie and I will give you an hour every Wednesday afternoon. And there'll be more to talk about once the games have happened. Charlie, let's bring a Spurs spin onto this. As another team that have kind of revamped their midfield, slightly in a different way, because you got Basuma, who was already at our club.
Well, I like Basuma. I think he's a good player.
But was kind of exiled into this kind of, you must defend, you can't be box to box, the Conte way. Now looks a breath of fresh air, plus James Maddison. And then we're going to have Bentancur coming back from injury as well. What do you make of our midfield, if that is the three?
Mate, I'm a big fan of Basuma. When Spurs signed him, I thought that was a phenomenal sign, a really good piece of business to get Basuma, because he was another one that was doing very, very well at Brighton. But for whatever reason, I think he had injury issues in his first season. Conte obviously didn't really fancy him at all. I don't want to say it's like a new signing or anything, because it's not a new signing, but it almost kind of feels like that, because he's now back in the mix when he's not been in the mix.
It does to us, Charlie. It does to us. It does to us, yeah.
And look, I'm not a massive fan of Oliver Skipp, I'll be honest. I just think he's probably a slightly better version of Harry Winks, probably not good enough for Tottenham if they want to go to the places that they want to go to. And loving the club, we've had it with similar players in the past. Oh, he should stay because he loves the club, rather than he should stay because he's good enough. I think Skipp probably falls into that category. But I love James Maddison. I'm a huge James Maddison fan. I think he's going to make such a big difference to Tottenham. It's someone that you probably haven't had since Christian Eriksen, in terms of an ability to operate in that number 10 position, and an ability to pick passes that other players can't see. One thing I wanted to ask you, mate, was, are you surprised that someone that's literally just joined in the summer, and this might be an indictment of the state of the squad and the people that were already there and the lack of leadership, that he's already in his first Premier League game for Spurs, his debut, he's already captaining the side? I know obviously Romero, he was captaining the side a little bit in the second half, but are you surprised that he's come in and he's part of that captaincy group straight away?
I think the second half of your sentence was probably was accurate. I think it's a sad indictment of what we built as a club. I don't think we built a club with any leadership. I'll be honest, I don't really see Sonny as a captain. Yeah. I feel he's more a captain in name and longevity than an actual captain's character. But then behind that, I think there were a lot of people saying, well, why not give the armband to James Maddison? You know what I mean? So I think it is a sad indictment of the fact that the squad's been built so poorly for years and years, and that there weren't any real leaders within the group of players. So no, it doesn't surprise me. I'm just glad, and I think a lot of the fan base are glad that it wasn't Eric Dyer. I think that was a lot of the worry from Spurs fans. But hey, there's Spurs fans in here. They might tell me I'm wrong. But
I mean, just on Van de Ven, mate, because I was watching a little bit in the concourse at Stamford Bridge, and he made it. He was a little bit shaky. I know it's only his debut. I certainly don't want to be writing players off after one game by any stretch of the imagination. But Were there any concerns about his performance? Obviously, he made a few mistakes, not great in certain aspects. But I mean, you concerned about him at all, or just putting it
No,
down to
I think he had a good debut. I think
Yeah.
he had a good debut. I think there was the one situation where there was a potential penalty, one where the ball went up in the air.
I thought that was stonewall, that penalty. I've got to be honest. I'm surprised it wasn't given.
Mate, do you know what? I don't ever know anymore what is a penalty and what isn't.
Yeah.
You just never know anymore. Remember the days you used to go, pen, that's a pen, and you knew it was given. Now you're going, oh, I just don't know. I just don't know. So look, it's his first game. I think it was difficult for him. He's come in and settled next to Romero, which is going to be our centre-back pairing. And then within 11 minutes, Romero's going off with concussion, and suddenly he's realising what it's like to play alongside Davinson Sanchez. And
I'll tell you what, though, Brentford away as well is a tough place, and Buemo and all those guys causing you issues. There won't be many more difficult away days than that one for him.
Yeah, especially as they put so many men behind the ball. And I think I think what fans are going to have to realise at Tottenham this season as well is we've all been crying out for this attacking, pressing, keep ball possession philosophy. And we have, right? I was one of them. I think what we've got to realise with that automatically means the teams you play against know you play like that and sit deep and drop 10 yards, right? That's going to be the nature of how teams play against us. Same way Man City have to face that every week. Same way Brighton are now finding that, and Arsenal, etc. But look, they lost 2 games at home all last year, did Brentford. So I think a point away, first game, 4 debuts. You think of Vicario, Udogie, Van der Ven, and Maddison. I don't think there's anything wrong with a point. Yeah, you always want 3.
Result at Brentford. You take that. It's a tough place to go. Not a lot of teams will win there this year. I think it's a positive start. I mean, I didn't watch all of the game, but I certainly think there's more of a unified feel around Spurs this time round with Ange in charge. I think under Conte it kind of felt a bit negative the entire time, not just the football, but also just the general feeling sort of around the club and whatnot. But I think with Ange, I think he can do something decent, and it's probably the manager a type of manager that Spurs should have appointed before they appointed Mourinho, before they appointed Conte. Like they were going down a win now route when they weren't ready to win now. And I look at Ange and think he's probably someone that can come in, rebuild, steady the ship, maybe do a good job for maybe 2 or 3 years, and then leave it in a place where maybe someone better could come in and then take you on to that next level. Can Ange win with Spurs? I don't want to say he can't, because he could. But I just feel like he's one of those that's going to build it to just about ready to win, and then someone else will come in and take you to the next step.
Do you know, I think the funny thing is now there are so many teams that consider that they should be winning. I don't put Spurs in that bracket yet, by the way, but Chelsea would think they should be winning. Liverpool fans, Arsenal, Man United, Newcastle now, City, it's kind of a given they're going to win something. So what it means now more than ever for me, Charlie, I don't know how you feel about this, is before you would have 1 or 2 fan bases that were disappointed they didn't win anything because you kind of had a 4 and that was it. Now I feel like you're going to have 4 or 5 fan bases at the end of every season going, oh, well, our managers failed because we didn't win anything. And that is why I want to bring up this comment off the back of that. Nice little segue, if I can find the comment quick enough to make it a segue, was this. Mike Reyes, big up to Mike, always in the chat. He said, Charlie, you admit it or not, Chelsea have spent a lot. Yeah, I think Charlie did admit that.
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah.
He said, so you should be aiming to win the league. One more finish outside top 4 will be a failure, isn't it? Now, Charlie, I'm gonna let you answer that. Then I would like to answer that as well, because I've just answered this on Never a Foul media to people saying that Chelsea must win the league because of the amount of money they've spent. What do you say to this?
Look, obviously, the expectation at Chelsea is always high, and it's going to be even higher with the money that's spent. But let's not pretend that because this money we've spent, we're suddenly as good or better than Man City. We're not. We could be in a 2, maybe 3 years' time. Absolutely, we have to finish in the top 4. And if we don't finish in the top 4 in the Champions League positions, then that is a failure. 100%. There's no 2 ways about it. It absolutely is. I said at the start of the season that the expectation for me, we have to get back in the Champions League and we need to win a domestic cup. That was my expectations and for the season. And in terms of challenging for the league, it's just a money equation. People have just looked at it and thought, oh, we spent loads of money, therefore they've equated money with you must be challenging for the league.
Yeah, you must win a title.
It doesn't work like that. If it was spend the most money, you win the league, then the team that spends the most would win every year. It doesn't work like that.
Then Man United would have won the league about 7 times in the last decade.
Exactly. So look, I get it why other fans might say that, but the reality of the situation is that yes, we spent a lot of money. Yes, we have to come in the top 4, and it's a failure not to. I absolutely agree with that. But in terms of winning the league, let's not pretend that just because we've spent loads of money on very good players, that it's all going to gel instantly, and we're suddenly going to become better than Man City. That doesn't just happen. That's going to take time. So for me, no, we shouldn't win the league this season. Can we win the league? Certainly you can, because we've got a chance, because we're obviously we're playing.
We're in it.
We're in it. But if we're being honest with ourselves, like that's a bit of a pipe dream. But what I would say is like 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or whatever is all up for grabs. Arsenal, we don't know how good they're going to be again. Liverpool, a bit down in the dumps at the moment with the midfield situation. United don't look that great. Then you've got us in the mix as well. So I'm not saying after one game we can make a decision, but I think it's quite even at this point in time between Chelsea, Liverpool, Newcastle, Arsenal, and whatever. So like the spending right now is, and the people always like to say we spend a lot of money. We have, but what we're doing is we're just spending the money in a really concentrated period of time, rather than rebuilding a squad over, say, 3 or 4 windows. We're rebuilding it over a January and a summer window. This level of spending is not going to continue. So this level of spending right now is to completely revamp the squad, which we are doing. And then going forwards, we're probably only going to be adding. It'll be like 1 or 2 out, 1 or 2 in, because this is going to be the basis of the new squad.
You're doing what most clubs do over 5 years in a year.
In a year, basically.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I get it.
It looks like a lot because we're doing it in a concentrated period of time. But look, we need to be challenging for the league again in probably the next 2 to 3 years for sure. There's no denying that. But I think in a way we can do that in a couple of years' time. And I think, look, this might be slightly biased for you, but I think a lot of people are sleeping on Chelsea and thinking we're just going to be like, I've seen a lot of predictions saying that Chelsea won't even make the top 5, which I'm not saying from like YouTubers or anything, well, some YouTubers, but also like from pundits as well, Monday Night Football. Like, no, I don't think any of them had Chelsea in their top 5.
Doesn't that suit the Chelsea fans and Pochettino as the manager? Doesn't that kind of underdog status suit you?
Yeah, it probably does, mate. It probably does. I mean, look, there's always going to be expectation on Chelsea, and there's always going to be, with the money spent, of course, people think, all right, you've got to be doing well. But it's at the same time, I think it probably does suit us that there's not that expectation that people are going to think, oh, Chelsea should be winning every single week, or we should be right up at the top. So I think 1 game a week and the squad that we've got and the manager that we've got, etc. Look, I think, I'm not saying we're going to come second or anything, but the fact that people think we might not even come top 4, I think is a bit mad, really.
Yeah, I mean, listen, just to come back to that point, just before I do come back to that point, keep smashing the like button, people. We should easily be getting to 100, 150 likes for a start. And please keep subscribing. We're only 7 away now, which is really, really nice. And I really appreciate it. 7 away from 9,800. So if anyone hasn't, please do smash that subscribe button. The link is in the chat. And Charlie's link is also in the chat. So please go and show some love. Very level-headed Chelsea fan. What I said on Never a Foul earlier, Charlie, was lots of people in the chat. And for me, it's what I call, it's the people that don't, this might sound a bit rude, they don't see past the end of their noses. And what I mean by that is all they can see is that 1 billion must win a league. But I think one of the things I've appreciated as I've got older is you can spend whatever you like. You've got to gel those players together.
Yeah.
You've got to implement a brand new manager's philosophy. You've got to create a winning culture because a lot of the winners have now left the club. So you've got to create that winning culture. And the big thing is what you said. For me, for as well as you've done in the transfer window, I'll ask this question to anyone. Do the signings Chelsea have made, has the £1 billion suddenly made them a better football club than Man City right now? And no, it hasn't. You're not as good as Man City, right? So the way I see it is, for me, I think now at the beginning of the summer, I was like, no, they must just get top 6. Now I think you've got to get Champions League football. I think that is the absolute bare minimum for Poch to get away with. And if he doesn't get that, I think he's had a bad season. But like you said, you're playing once a week. Who knows? But it is really early after one game for any club in the league to start talking about who's going up, who's going down, who's getting Champions League. It really is early. Let's go to a couple more comments. Bao, big up to you, Bao, has said, hi, Savva. Realistically, I don't see Spurs finishing any higher than 7th, as we are not strong as the Big 6, where Newcastle have ousted Spurs. Look, listen, I hear you. It's tough, as we just said. It's tougher than ever now. Lots of good clubs up there. All I would say is just remember back to the beginning of last year, right? No one predicted Liverpool to have the drop-off they did. No one predicted Arsenal to go from 5th to a title challenge. No one thought Chelsea would be bottom half. Do you know what I mean? All of these different things happened that none of us thought would. So as a very good friend of mine always says, come back to me at the end of October and we'll have a more realistic conversation about who should be winning what and who should be going down when we've got an idea about everything. Charlie, I'll come to you with another question, my friend. Proud to be a Geordie has said, who's getting more goals this season? Is it going to be Jackson or Nunes? I'll add on to that. What do you make of Jackson?
Hey, I'll be honest, mate. When we signed him, I'll be honest, mate, I didn't really know an awful lot about him. I know he was very close to joining Bournemouth in January, but he failed the medical with a hamstring issue. They decided not to pursue that deal. He had a good back end of the season with Villarreal. I think he got like 12 goals in the last 9 games or whatever. But ultimately, like I trust our recruitment team, our scouting department, the new data-led recruitment drive we're going down. And he had a really good preseason. He looks a handful. He's quick. He's got good hold-up play. He links the play well. He's a good finisher, as we've seen in the preseason. I think there's a lot to like about him. My only concern has he at this point in time, he's still raw, and I don't think he's got that ruthless gene in him yet, where he can bang, say, 15 goals in the Premier League. Like I've always said, mate, if Jackson gets 10 league goals this season, that's a really good season for him. For someone coming in at 21, 22 years of age, first season in the Premier League.
League goals, you saying? 15
10.
league?
If he gets 10, mate, I think he's had a great season.
Okay.
If he gets 10, I think we've got to be realistic with players here, because I don't think you get very, very few players come in and will bang like 15 goals in their first season. Like it doesn't happen very often. You have to be a top quality player. So I like Jackson. I like what I've seen, but I think we need a bit more up there to help him, and we need the others playing behind him to step up and contribute a lot more than they have done than they did last season, of course. But I like him. But in answer to that question, I think Nunes will score more goals than him, because I think he's got better players around him in that attacking third, and I think he's probably he's a better player than Jackson right now. So yeah, I would say Nunes will get more goals for sure.
Mm-hmm. Ram Telek has said, so what's the point of spending? Sorry, Ram, could you just a bit more context?
I think it was about me saying that we're not like about we're not ready to challenge now, and this is like for building a team for sort of the next 2 or 3 years instead of being ready. That's what you have to do. Like you have to spend to build for the future. Like we're not like, we're spending money, but it's not like pointless if we don't win the league this season. What's the point in spending? We're spending to build something sustainable for the future. This level of spending is not going to continue.
Yeah, I do think it's crazy. I mean, we've literally got to the stage in life where no one's got any patience. Yeah. Like the thing is, even if you had spent 100 million in the last year or $1 billion, you can still only move as quick as you can move. Poch only gets the same amount of days to work with them. And I truly believe that if anyone thinks Chelsea have failed if they don't win the league, for me, I think Pep fails if he doesn't win the league. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's the only manager for me that fails if he doesn't win the league. The other clubs for me aren't good enough to oust them at the moment. And that's not me blowing smoke up Man City's backside. He's been there 7 years. He's created that. This is his baby. This is what he's created. And I think it's the same thing in any walk of life, Charlie. This isn't just football. If you move into a house that needs to be done up, you can't do everything overnight, right? you know, when I moved into this house, 2 years ago. First, I was like, I need a new bathroom, new kitchen. I need new floorboards, electrics to be done. Everything's got to be painted. These things take time.
Yeah. So if you
right?
didn't do all that in the first year, you failed.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think when you take a little step back, I think maturity is a real big thing now in football. As I've got older, I realise, right. Arsenal fans telling me that if they don't win the league, they failed with how much Arteta's spent. Sure, but you've still not got as good a squad as Man City.
Yeah, they're not good. They're not as good.
You know what I
That's the
mean?
point, though. When you say people like you're failing, like City are the benchmark. Ultimately, the other all the other teams are failing because we're not finding a way to get to that level. Like, so that's the reality on it. I think is that the other teams aren't good enough yet, and they have to do better. They have to spend money. They have to get better players in. They have to work on things, and they've got to get better and get to Man City's level.
Yeah, listen, I would agree with this. Cal before, I would agree with this. I think this year you've got to get Champions League. I think you've got to. I think you will. If I'm brutally honest, I think you will now. So. Next year, I won't be sitting here with a level head saying, "Oh, I don't think you've got a challenge." Next year, I think then you've had your year with the manager to settle all these players in. You'll have then had another summer where you bring in maybe, I don't know, whatever it is that you need to tweak with them. Then I say you go for it. But I just think that people automatically think that getting above Man City is this really easy thing that you can just spend your way to. And I think it goes a long way past that. Sean Smith has said Chelsea, in my opinion, need at least a year with everything going on. New players needing to gel, Poch coming in. Next season, you're definitely in the conversation.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. And Matthew Horsfield has said Chelsea's net spend this season is only 54 million. I mean, that goes to show the ins and outs at your club this year. It must never be a dull day being a Chelsea fan.
Mate, there's so much going on. Like, particularly this summer as well. We've had about 15 odd out the door. Like this week, mate, we've had Caicedo Sunday night / Monday, had Lavia Monday, and then we've had Michael Elise Tuesday. Mate, it's Wednesday, 10 to 5. Where's my sign-in?
Yeah, like the Craig David song. Monday.
Yeah, mate. We've got to try and get 7 days, but no, it's so much going on. Obviously, it's exciting times, mate. But yeah, it's never boring at all. Never boring at all, mate. So much going on. But this, to be fair, mate, from a Chelsea perspective, this squad clear out has been long overdue for a number of years. And you know, the fact that we've managed to do so much in one go is quite something. Ziyech is on his way to Galatasaray as well. So that's today. That's another one out the door as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's ever been this level of turnover and turnaround in a squad in such a short space of time. I certainly can't remember it anywhere.
And I'll be honest with you. I think Spurs fans in the chat, let me know. How did you know? Yeah, we are. We were just getting to our racist part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Smash the like button on your way out. And block. Look, I'll ask this to a lot of the Spurs fans in the chat, and please be honest with me. Is a little bit of it jealousy because we have so much deadwood, Charlie. So much deadwood, we can't get rid of any of it. We've managed to
not even Saudi want it.
Right. You've let go. I mean, I saw a graphic the other day of an 11 you put out and about 5 substitutes.
It's the right team,
of a team that went, and I was like, wow. And then you look at Spurs this summer. The only ones that have gone has been Harry Winks to Leicester City for 8 million, rising to possibly 12, and Joe Rodon, who's gone to Leeds on a loan. And I'll be honest, I'll sit here and say I'm jealous that you've managed to have this massive clear out. I'm jealous that you've managed to do it. But you have to want to have the clear out, right, Charlie? Yeah. That's the point. You have to. It's easy to just say, "Oh, no one's bid," or you've got to want to actively find them clubs and drive that. And I'm guessing you've got an extensive scouting team and network of recruiters there that are helping with that.
Yeah, man. There's a lot going on. Obviously, like it's all been new. All the previous regime were cleared out. The new directors are in. There's new scouting system. There's new technical directors, heads of recruitment, and all this sort of thing going on. But yeah, mate, I can't quite believe A, the volume we've got out the door, and B, the money we've got for some of these players
Yeah.
is quite something. Now, I'm not going to sit here and slander Kai Havertz, but he was poor at Chelsea, if we're being totally honest. Not good enough for the money we spent. We virtually, after 3 years where he was terrible, we pretty much within £5 million got our money back for him, for someone that's been poor for 3 years. Like that's remarkable business. Whatever he goes and does at Arsenal is irrelevant because he was terrible at Chelsea. So to almost get our money back for him, to get £60 million for Mason Mount, to get 25 odd million for Kovacic, who didn't want to be here, Mendy and Koulibaly going off to Saudi Arabia, despite what people say, we didn't actually get that big transfer fees for them, but it was wages off the books as well. Mate, there's so many players, I can't remember who's gone, but
there you go. I'm about to bring it up so we can go through it. I mean, is
so many.
This is phenomenal. First of all, let me know how big that comes out. Okay, hang on 1 second. Let me see if I can make that a bit bigger for you. 1 second. Let's zoom that. Hopefully that's big enough.
Yeah, that's
is that
good.
Big enough?
Yeah,
right. Okay. Let me remove mine. Please like and subscribe, people. That'd be fantastic.
Mate, ironic you've got an Arsenal membership on the side, mate.
yeah. How did they know? Yeah. God, why am I so gunnered up? I've clicked on Chelsea and Arsenal's come up. Look, if we look at your, let's go to your outs before we look at your ins. I mean, you know, when you look at 65, I mean, this is all in euros. So 75 million euros for Havertz, 5 million for Mount, you know, just under 30 for Kovacic, 23 for Koulibaly, 20 for Pulisic, 18 for Mendy, 16 for Ruben Loftus-Cheek, 8 million for Ethan Ampadu, and a loan fee of $1 million for Kepa, plus all the free transfers that have left your club.
And the wages as well. The wages
absolutely
is even bigger than that, to be honest. Like that's another massive thing. Like, all right, we probably didn't get as much money as we wanted for certain players, but just to get the wages off the books is a big plus.
I mean, and when you look at that as well, there's that's what 254 million of player sales, and then if we look at your incomings, you know, where you've spent, it says you've spent 323 million on players. You're looking at Caicedo and Kunku, Disasi, Jackson.
I mean, yeah, and Kunku didn't come this summer, but that deal was agreed. I mean, he arrived this summer.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I mean, to be fair, look, we spent a lot of money, but I mean, other than the Caicedo fee, the other fees aren't actually like outrageous. It's not what you'd call like, fuck, they've paid a lot of money for those players. Like, they're quite reasonable fees outside of Caicedo.
Yeah, I think this one here, can you see my cursor? Sorry,
yeah.
I'm on that. Yeah, I think this here has inflated all of that. But this here, this net spend, Spurs is net. So your net spend, what? So 68 million, right? According to Transfer Market. You've always got to be, you know, we've always got to be wary because some of the figures aren't always correct. But Spurs' net spend is like £54 million. And we've done nowhere near the business you've done. We haven't lost anyone either. I mean, I don't know. Spurs fans, is there an ounce of jealousy towards clubs that can get rid of their deadwood like Chelsea when we can't? Is there anyone that went that you would have kept, Charlie? Is there anyone that shouldn't have gone?
I was an advocate. I was a bit disappointed that Mount left because I felt that, you know, the club maybe should have done more to keep him. But ultimately, with who we've bought in, and all that, and everything that's gone on this summer, I'm actually not that bothered about that now. I've sort of kind of got over it very quickly. And with the exciting business we've done, those sort of players that have left are just completely forgotten about now. Just kind of out of sight, out of mind. I don't wish them not well or anything like that, but they're very much not in my thinking anymore because they're not part of Chelsea. So the only one I would have said, like, I would have liked to have kept Mount, but actually with what we've done so far with the incomings and stuff, I'm not actually that bothered he's gone now.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Football moves on. And I think, do you know what? I'm going to say it. When a lot of Spurs fans get really emotionally attached to our players, I truly believe it's because we don't get rid of players quick enough to not care. Do you know what I mean? Like,
probably a bit more ruthlessness at Spurs, maybe, in terms of getting rid of players. Like, I know Daniel Levy likes to squeeze as much money out of transfer fees as possible, but sometimes when you need to get rid of players, like, you just got to accept lesser fees. I mean, did we really want to accept less than 20 million quid for Christian Pulisic? he's worth probably a lot more than that. But we needed to get rid of him, so we just took a lesser fee, get his wages off the books, get these players out.
Yeah,
like maybe Spurs. I don't know if Spurs like ask for ridiculous transfer fees, overvalue players, or whatever it is. But maybe you just need to, like, if Davinson Sanchez needs to go, and the offer on the table is like 9 or 10 million quid, he's probably worth more than that. But maybe just to get him out the door, just take it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is difficult. Let's look at a couple of other teams, shall we? Just quickly before we do that, thank you to everyone who's liked. People have been a little bit more generous today. 123 likes, 296, just under a third, maybe. Just go and smash that like button. And if anyone would be so kind, we're only 5 away now from 9,800. So if just five people could just go and tick that box, links in the chat, putting it in there again now, that'd be much appreciated. Did you see anything from any of the other clubs at the weekend that made you think, oh wow, they're serious? I know it's early, but did anyone surprise you, shock you?
I'm surprised Newcastle beat Aston Villa as comfortably as they did. But I mean, I think Newcastle are going to be a decent side again. Nothing surprised me from Man City. They look pretty good. Routine win. Arsenal looks okay. Nothing special from them so far. So yeah, I mean, nothing really to report back on there. Chelsea and Liverpool both looked okay, half decent. I thought, to be honest, I know it's only one game, but out of the so-called big sides, I know United won, but I thought they were shocking on Monday night. They were absolutely awful. So they probably look the worst out of the so-called big sides. But I'd say, the biggest. I was probably most impressed with Newcastle this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Do you know what? I was actually a lot more impatient than Mrs. Savva when doing up the house. We're looking to build a studio and a gym in the garden. And so it's not done. Like, this is my point. 2 years in, it's not done. It takes time, would be my overriding feeling on all this. Yes, I mean, Newcastle, lots of talk about them again. Lots of people said they'll have a drop off. They won't be as good as last year, but I think they've kind of kept the consistency. Yeah, they've added Tonali into midfield. Livramento adds depth for the fullback positions, and Barnes gives them options on the left.
They're looking at Lewis Hall now as well. I just see now on Twitter from a report from the Telegraph saying that Chelsea have put Lewis Hall up for sale and could sell him for around 30 million quid, which I think's a bit outrageous. But also, Savva, there's a breaking news from Fabrizio on a Spurs sporting director as well.
1 second, don't ruin it for me.
I won't announce it.
I'm bringing up Romano. Okay.
Have you checked if this one's done any jail time before?
Do you know what? I've literally read the first moment. It's always nice when there's some Spurs breaking news. There we go. Can you see that? Hopefully everyone can see that. So Fabrizio Romano has said exclusive. Tottenham considering Mathieu Almeni, apologies, as potential option as new director of football starting from September. Almeni will part ways with Barca on September the 2nd and was close to Aston Villa in June. Premier League opportunity could return soon with Spurs. Spurs fans in the chat, what do we make of this? Look, I'm not going to sit here and profess I know a lot about him, but like a good little YouTuber, I'll tell you what I am going to do, Charlie, in the next few hours, is go and do some research and go and find out. I remember his name.
I think he's probably okay. I remember him for the Villa links.
Yes.
I'll be honest, mate. I don't really know what he's done at Barcelona because I don't follow Barcelona in that much depth to research their director of football. So I can't really give a qualified opinion on him at all. But you need someone. It's been a long time. So I suppose it's good news, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I know what will happen. Immediately, what is going to happen is lots of people are going to go, oh my God, why didn't we do this at the beginning of the window? Look, for me, that we can't change that now. If we do bring in this guy, let's get through to the end of August. Let's get our players in. And then hopefully him and Big Ange can start working on it so that for the next few windows, we don't have to wait till deep in the window to get our players, that we actually have some targets.
I mean, he should have some good contacts, in fairness, if he's been at Barcelona. I don't know if there's any Barcelona players right now that are surplus to requirements that maybe Spurs might suddenly be linked with if he does come. I don't know.
Lewandowski. I don't know if he fancies taking Harry Kane's place up front. Yeah, just quickly, by the way, I did find it funny that, like, for months in here, I've been conversations with people, Charlie, about how Kane wants to win trophies and every top player wants to win leagues. So many people telling me he didn't, and it was more important to him to win a League Cup with Spurs or get the Shearer record. And then you see the interview with Harry Kane today on Sky Sports News, and I quote, Harry Kane said this. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. So many pictures on my phone. I get sent so much in a day. It's unreal. Harry Kane said this. Where is it? Why can't I find it? This is going to be here we go. He said, Harry Kane has said, a lot of people talk about the trophies and why I came here, but ultimately it was to improve, to feel a new pressure of having to win titles every year and having to win titles. So I think that was big for him. But going back to your point, anyone from Barcelona coming into Spurs, you'd like to think he might know a few absolute gems down there in La Masia that might want to come and join Tottenham Hotspur. Who knows?
Who knows? But I don't know who's surplus to requirements anyway. But I mean, obviously, Kessie, Spurs were always linked with Kessie, but he's obviously gone off to Saudi now. So, yeah.
Who hasn't? I think everyone's starting to go out there now, right?
You know what's bad, mate? I actually I'll be real. It's getting a lot of stick, but I'm actually quite interested to see how it does. And DAZN have got UK rights now, so I'll probably watch a bit of it this season.
Yeah. Bill, I completely agree with you on this. Yeah. Do you know what, Charlie? We should start a new YouTube channel for Saudi Arabian football. I think it would be...
Mate, I think it would be massive. I think it would be
massive.
Have you got a Saudi team?
No, I haven't got a Saudi team. No, I've got enough problems with my Premier League team, mate.
Mate, I had to pick one, mate. Do you know what's mad, right? Is that Mitrovic is going to be playing with Neymar this season? How mad is that?
Yeah, it's crazy. I tell you what I watched earlier. I was flicking around YouTube. I swear I watch YouTube more than my TV now. I was flicking around YouTube on my TV, and I was watching a few of my favorite YouTubers and some of their videos, and it came up like 4 minutes worth of highlights from Inter Miami's game yesterday or this morning or whatever it was. And I looked at that 11 and I went, imagine Inter Miami couldn't win a game for love nor money, and then Messi, Alba, and Busquets turn up, and you go, like Yedlin. DeAndre Yedlin is now playing with Alba the other side, Busquets in the middle, and Messi up top.
Mate, do you know what's mad? Inter Miami were the worst team in the MLS, comfortably.
Yeah.
Well, and now
they're Messi, innit? Like,
yeah, that's the Messi factor, yeah.
Yeah, I saw a post the other day online. It was from an Inter Miami fan, and it said, forget this Lionel Messi dude. He was tongue-in-cheek. He went, Busquets in midfield. He went, we dominate everything. It's like, well, that will happen if you buy one of the best midfielders of the last 2 decades. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter how old. That's what quality buys you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And particularly in the MLS as well, where he's going to be miles clear of everyone. It's not really a challenge.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, by the way, Mike, I have no idea why all that Arsenal stuff came up.
Mate, cool. You've been getting your Gunners membership, mate.
a Gunnosaurus or something. I don't know. So funny you should mention that. Let me just quickly pitch tonight at 10 o'clock, talking about Arsenal fans. Football's 12th Man podcast. I'm normally on the show, but tonight I'm actually hosting the show as Dan Potts, who is an Arsenal fan and season ticket holder, is away for a few nights. So I'll be hosting that show for a Gooner friend of mine tonight. So please join us on that at 10 p.m. We've got fans from all over the Premier League on that show. So please join us, and I'll put the link into my YouTube chat so everyone can join us. Football's 12th Man podcast. Yeah, and Sean has also said, don't forget Elise. It was not on that list either.
Yeah, it's not quite done yet officially, but he is coming, yeah.
Yeah, and massively jealous. I think I'm massively jealous.
Just quickly, mate.
Yeah,
why?
Yeah.
I'm not saying he would have gone to Spurs, but with a known £35 million release clause for a very talented player, why didn't Spurs even look at it?
Look, do you know what? I think a lot of this goes back to until Postecoglou came in. There's no director of football. Obviously, the link's just them with the guy from Barcelona. there was no director of football. Obviously, there was no manager in place. So I don't think that there was a list. I don't think there was a list of players. I want to see that sort of signing, Charlie, next year when Postecoglou's been here a year. Hopefully, when this new director of football's been here a year, I would like to think that we're looking at which players have got these release clauses, because of all your business you do, Elise at 35 million looks an absolute steal, Charlie.
Well, particularly if we sell Lewis Hall for 30. I mean, I'm not saying we should sell Hall, but if that were to happen, it's like a net 5 million spend. I know it doesn't quite work out like that, but you've almost sold Lewis Hall to pay for Elise, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it does happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like we said earlier, one thing Chelsea have been brilliant at, that other clubs, some are starting to get there, Tottenham are not, is bringing through youth players and selling them at big fees. And I'm not talking about Harry Kane. I mean, that's an anomaly. But, you're bringing through players like Tamori and Guehi, who played limited first-team games for you, and you got something like 55, 60 million between them. Like that's crazy.
When was the last? I mean, this could be I might be completely stupid, but when was the last time someone come through the academy at Spurs and was a genuine first team player? I mean, outside of Harry Kane, I know he started at Arsenal, but he's been there since. But outside of Kane, when was the last time that sort of there was a player that come through the academy that actually became a mainstay in the team?
Yeah, I mean, the closest we probably got to that was Winks and Skip. But again, if we're going to talk about a mainstay, somebody that is guaranteed week in, week out to play, other than Harry Kane, it's not really happened. And that's why we don't have the incoming revenue that like you guys have for our youngsters. We did this the other day on the show. We said in the last decade, can we think of any players from Spurs that have gone for above 10 million? And I think there was a handful. It was like for something like 11, 12 million for Andros Townsend.
There's not many, is there? There's not many.
No, mate, not many at all. And look, I'm hoping that that's something that Ange and this new director of football can really, obviously, whether it's him or somebody else, can really get their teeth stuck into. It'll be really nice to see. Guys and girls, we are going to go just for 5 more minutes. I'll try and get through to a few questions, but thank you very much for all of your comments. It's been I've really enjoyed it. It's a nice show. Everyone's been very well behaved, apart from the racist comment. Absolutely not in any way, shape, or form is the answer to that question. Phil P thinks Messi might want a winter loan to Spurs. I mean, why not? Let's make it happen. Fati is looking to leave Barcelona.
I think potentially. Actually, Fati maybe.
I think the clue is, though, that if this guy is coming in, it is going to be from September, and I don't think it's going to have any bearing on this window. Let's get to a few questions from fans in the comments. Where are we? Savva, would you take Greenwood at Tottenham? No, I think I'd probably want to leave that situation alone for the moment. And I don't want to get into a debate about Greenwood. Talented footballer. If he's being found innocent, cool, crack on with your career. But I don't think signing somebody with that over their head at the moment is
certainly not straight away, fresh from it.
Exactly. Big up to Steve D, who's been a channel member for 1 month now. Who says, Savva, that was a typo. Deadwood isn't comparable. I didn't see the first comment, so I don't know, but I'll just pretend there wasn't a typo, Steve. Big up to you and your motorbike, and thank you for becoming a channel member. Guys and girls, we are now only 3 people away from 9,800. Come on, 3 generous people. There's 350 people in the chat. Please subscribe to Charlie as well. He's a great guy, and keep smashing those likes. We're on 141. We should at least get to 150. Where are we? Phil Coys. Big up to Phil. Hope you're well, my friend. Has said, can't Ange exceed his 4-year contract and have a long tenure at the club? Why pass on the baton to another manager who's better? We have tried that with Jose and Conte. Ange is perfect at Spurs. Charlie?
I mean, look, it's always difficult, isn't it? I mean, you don't know how it's going to go, but I guess I don't know why I keep turning that off. It's one of them, isn't it? Where I think he could do well, and Spurs maybe need some stability, but ultimately the proof is going to be in the results and the body of work that he does, and you earn that right to stay at the club. So yes, Spurs shouldn't dispose of him at the first time something goes tough, but at the same time to say, oh, what should he exceed his 4-year contract? That's going to be very much down to him. So I'm not saying he can't do it, but he's going to have to deliver results that would warrant him staying in the job for that long.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think, Phil, for me to answer that question, I think the difficulty is, I'm not saying, I think I speak for all Spurs fans where we want Ange to be here for 3-4 years winning trophies and have no reason to leave. That would be the dream. I think what we've seen with Conte and Jose is we brought them in when the club's not doing well, as opposed to get us over the line. So it kind of felt like it was a bit of a contradiction in bringing in that type of manager. But look, let's see. Hopefully they do well. Charlie, my last question to you: if you had to put your hat on Chelsea's season this year, where are you finishing in the league? What are you expecting in the cups?
Mate, I've said on my own channel and various other places that I think we'll come fourth and we'll win the League Cup. That's my predictions. I said that before the season started. I'm gonna stick with it. I think fourth and win the League Cup.
Fourth and win the League Cup.
Yeah.
Okay. No FA Cup for you, just the League Cup.
Mate, I'm not sure if I can face another FA Cup final. We lost 3 FA Cup finals in a row, so I'm not sure if I can deal with another FA Cup final. But yeah, fourth in the League Cup, mate. I think that's realistic.
Yeah, no, I think you'll definitely be in and around that fourth position. I think that, I mean, your midfield is disgustingly strong now, very, very strong. You've got really good young options coming up behind that as well, with the likes of Chukwuemeka, the Brazilian lad you bought,
Santos as well. Yeah,
the Nigerian lad. Was it a Nigerian lad you bought?
No, Ugochukwu French, I think. But
French lads, Ugochukwu. Yeah. Who bought someone Nigeria? The Spurs. We want
Gift Orban.
Gift Orban. Yeah. Too many players to remember.
We were linked with him in the past. I think last summer maybe. Yeah. He's a talented boy.
Yeah, absolutely. Last thing, who's going to win the Premier League?
It's boring, but you can't look past Man City.
Yeah. Who's going to win the Champions League?
Do you know what? I'm going to say Real Madrid.
Oh, okay.
I just think that midfield is outrageous.
Have they got enough up top?
That'd be the only thing. I would caveat that if they end up getting Mbappe, then I think that makes them favourites. But I'll still go with them anyway.
Yeah. Ben Jacobs apparently putting out there that Tottenham want. Ben Jacobs. Is it Ben Jacobs or Gary Jacobs?
Yeah, Ben Jacobs. Yeah.
Apparently that Tottenham want Lautaro Martinez.
Mate, we were linked with him for loads at the start of the summer, and then it just went completely dead.
Yeah, I mean, Lautaro Martinez is an interesting one because he's been touted with a lot of clubs for many years and never actually seems to leave.
Never made the move.
Yeah, he never seems to leave Inter Milan. Why is he always touted about for leaving but never goes?
I think it's one of them, mate. Like, I think it's maybe a little bit like Koulibaly, where he was touted to leave every year for years and years and years. The one year he did leave, he probably left a bit too late and it didn't quite work out for him. I suspect Martinez is going to be another one of those where he's linked with a move away every single year. But when he does make that move, it's probably going to be too late and it doesn't really work out for him.
Yeah. And also, by the way, Ben Jacobs has just said, keep an eye on Piero Hincapié. Despite signing a new contract at Leverkusen until 2027, he is open to a Premier League move. No offers yet, but understand he's being discussed with at least 2 Premier League clubs.
I think that could be United and Spurs.
I hope so. But it could be you lot. You lot just buy play. That's your Wednesday signing.
Well, I'll tell you who it could be as well, mate. It could be Arsenal, because if you're in Timber out with an ACL, it could they need someone else. It could easily be him.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Yeah, listen, let's play in the know. Let's play ITK. Where's he going? Listen, big up to you, Charlie. We are coming up to the hour, so thank you we've done an hour and 4 minutes. I can't count. Thanks so much, mate. Always love our chats. They're nice and sensible. Thank you to everyone in the comments. Charlie and I'll be back next week, where Spurs will have played at home to Man United and Chelsea will have played
away at West Ham. Moises Caicedo debut at the London Stadium. I'll be there. Looking forward to it.
Nice. Okay, superb. All right. Well, listen, everybody, join us next week. We'll be able to talk about that. I'm sure by then Chelsea would have made a couple more signings. Hopefully Spurs have made one more signing by then. Please, last nicely, we are 2 subscribers away from 9,800. On your way out, just smash that button, press the likes. Thanks for everyone being in here. Thanks to Charlie. Subscribe to Charlie. He's a really good guy, great content creator. And as always, come on, you Spurs.